A 20-year-old kid steps off the bench, and in the space of 16 minutes, he single-handedly tears a World Cup team apart. That is exactly what happened tonight in Los Angeles, when Johan Manzambi came on as a substitute in the 71st minute and scored twice, to help Switzerland obliterate Bosnia and Herzegovina 4-1. And here's what makes this even wilder. This is the same Swiss team that couldn't beat Qatar just 6 days ago. The same team that was written off, mocked, and left embarrassed. How does a team go from the brink of humiliation to absolute devastation? Let's break it down. Welcome to SoccerVault, the soccer channel that goes beyond the scoreline and tells you exactly what happened, why it happened, and what it all means for the tournament. If you're new here, hit subscribe. We break down every big World Cup match. Let's get into it. To understand how massive this victory is, you need the full picture. Switzerland arrived at World Cup 2026 as a typically solid European side, experienced, organized, hard to beat. Granit, Xhaka, the veteran captain and Arsenal maestro leading the midfield. Jan Sommer, one of the top goalkeepers in Europe, marshalling the backline. And yet, their opening match was an embarrassment. They drew 1-1 with Qatar. Qatar, a team that, before that match, had never won a single point at a FIFA World Cup. Not once, in their entire World Cup history, and Switzerland let them escape with a draw. The reaction back home? Devastated, disappointed, some fans calling for wholesale changes. Meanwhile, in the other Group B match, Canada and Bosnia-Herzegovina drew 1-1, with Canadian substitute Cyle Larin equalizing late. So after matchday 1, every single team in Group B sat on exactly 1 point. 4 teams, 4 points, spread perfectly evenly, a group of pure tension. For Switzerland, there was no margin for error tonight. This was a must-perform game. So here's the thing about the first 70 minutes of this match. Switzerland were in control, but nothing was going their way in front of goal. The Swiss pressed forward from the first whistle. They dominated possession. Xhaka pulled strings from deep, driving Switzerland up the pitch with his passing range. But Bosnia, they defended deep. They were compact. They stayed organized. And Switzerland, for all their possession, couldn't find the final ball. Bosnia had moments on the counter, threatening breaks, some half chances, but Swiss goalkeeper Sommer was barely troubled. This was a pattern we've seen with Switzerland before. Dominate possession, look threatening, but fail to convert. Yellow cards started arriving. Amar Dedic for Bosnia in the 59th minute. Then, shockingly, legendary striker Edin Dzeko 2 minutes later in the 61st. Dzeko, still starting at this level in a World Cup at 40 years old. Respect. But Switzerland were growing frustrated. Coach Murat Yakin clearly needed to shake things up. At minute 71, he made the move that changed everything. Johan Manzambi, 20 years old, born in Geneva, Switzerland, to parents from Angola and the Democratic Republic of Congo, currently tearing it up for SC Freiburg in the German Bundesliga. And before tonight, most people outside of Switzerland had never heard his name. After tonight, the whole world knows who he is. On comes Manzambi at 71 minutes, along with Rubén Vargas and Djibril Sow, and within minutes, the energy was completely different. The Swiss looked sharper, faster, more dynamic. Then, in the 74th minute, Manzambi. A clinical, composed finish, 1-0 Switzerland, at last. The breakthrough came at exactly the right moment, just as Bosnia's energy was starting to drop. And then, the red card. Tarek Muharemovic, 80 minutes, sent off, serious foul play. No debate, no argument. It was a reckless, dangerous challenge. Bosnia were now down to 10 men, and Switzerland smelled blood. Rubén Vargas, another substitute, made it 2-0 in the 84th minute. Bosnia pulled one back through Erman Mamik deep in stoppage time. A consolation, nothing more. Because in the 90th minute itself, Manzambi again. His second goal, a brace for the young man from Geneva. Absolute scenes at Los Angeles Stadium. And if that wasn't enough, Granit Xhaka, ice in his veins as always, stepped up and slotted home a penalty in minute 90+7 to make it 4-1. Final score, Switzerland 4, Bosnia-Herzegovina 1. Let me give you the numbers that tell the full story. All 4 Switzerland goals came after the 74th minute. 4 goals in the final 16 minutes of normal time plus stoppage time. Manzambi scored twice. Vargas and Xhaka added 1 each. The team that was mocked and embarrassed for drawing with Qatar just 6 days ago, the team whose entire campaign looked like it might be over before it began, has now produced the most dominant performance of Group B. Unbelievable turnaround. Absolutely unbelievable. And here's the hot take. And I know some people will push back on this, but listen carefully. Some will say, Switzerland only scored because Bosnia went to 10 men. It doesn't count as a proper performance. I completely disagree, and here's exactly why. The first goal came at 74 minutes, 6 minutes before the red card. Manzambi had already broken Bosnia's resistance before Muharemovic walked off. The red card made things easier, yes, but Bosnia were already cracking. And more importantly, this tells you everything about Xhaka's substitutions. He saw something. He brought on Manzambi, a 20-year-old with almost no World Cup experience, in the 71st minute of a pressure match, and trusted him completely. That is bold coaching. That is reading the game. A manager who wasn't brave enough would have gone for a veteran, played it safe, hoped for a late winner. Instead, Xhaka went for a kid who had absolutely nothing to lose, and the kid delivered. You cannot dismiss this as a 10-man gift. Switzerland were the better team all game. The scoreline was deserved. So where does Group B stand after tonight? Switzerland sit top with 4 points from 2 games. Now forget that Qatar draw. It means nothing if Switzerland finish this group strongly. Canada are playing Qatar as we speak. Whoever comes out of that match with something will dramatically shape the final standings. If Canada win, they join Switzerland on 4 points, and their Group B finale on June 24th becomes a winner-takes-all showdown. Switzerland against Canada, with the group winner on the line. If Qatar pull off a shock, Bosnia's chances are all but over. Whatever happens tonight, Switzerland are firmly in the driving seat. One more win against Canada, or even just a point, and the Swiss are through to the round of 16. After the Qatar humiliation, Manzambi and company have given their nation something to truly believe in. And that is exactly why we love football, because a 20-year-old nobody had heard of can walk off the bench, score twice, and flip the entire script on the biggest stage in sport. Johan Manzambi has announced himself at this World Cup. Switzerland are coming. Drop your take in the comments below. Is this Swiss team finally the real deal, or is it still too early to trust them? Smash that like button, subscribe to SoccerVault for full coverage of every big World Cup moment, and we will see you in the next one.